Welcome to Unspoken Real Talk, where men come to talk, to heal, and to be heard. I'm your host and moderator, Pamela Coleman. Wednesdays at 7 p.m., we dive into the powerful, often unspoken conversations around men's mental health. From silent struggles to bold breakthroughs, this is a safe space where vulnerability is strength and real talk is the rule. With conversation that reflect the journey, the pain, progress, and peace, you'll see you're not alone. So pull up a chair, open your mind, and let's talk. This is Unspoken Real Talk. Welcome to Unspoken Real Talk, where men...
I told you I'm getting it. One day I will have this down to a science, or I'll have somebody back in the back doing this for me. Hello, hello, hello. Here we are, Unspoken Real Talk, where men come to talk about mental health and all those things that are important to them. I have a special guest. He's real special. He was the first person that ever allowed me to sit behind the mic. Yes, so I have a warm spot for my dear friend. Welcome in, Mr. Davenport. So we're going to let you jump in. Tell everybody about yourself and who you are.
All right. Well, I'm Sarad Davenport. I try to keep it light, but I'm a father, husband, person of faith. I try to give back in my community, and I try to support others and really help others get out their dreams and lift them up and push them forward, encourage them. So that's a little bit about myself. I could go down many angles of, and roll out my resume, but I really try to just be a regular person and meet people where they are and be fully present in the moment with people that I'm with. So that's where I am with it.
Well, I'm going to do a little something for you right now. I want to thank you for doing what you do for the community, because growing up here, there wasn't that many of us out there. Our parents just worked and we went to school and everybody just kind of, went away. And to see the things that my sisters and brothers are now doing, I'm like, look at little Charlottesville. We're doing something. So thank you for that. Thank you for the support, because you are very supportive of pretty much everything that we can get going. And you're an inspiration for us to keep going. Awesome. So I want to say thank you, before we get too mushy. But I really appreciate you.
Likewise. It goes both ways.
I don't know. Where do we want to jump in? First question. So we're here talking about men's mental health.
Okay.
How do you see men's mental health through the eyes of a Black man?
I see through the eyes of a Black man. How do I see men's mental health? I see a lot of men without feeling like they have space or safety to kind of talk about what they're really going through on the inside. I see a lot of men internalize or, maybe take up some things that are not necessarily healthy to deal with the challenges of the trauma that they have experienced. So I see a lack of like space to kind of talk through those things. I see a fear of vulnerability. I think it's getting better, actually. I see men being vulnerable more, but there still needs to be even more without losing who they are, right? I don't think that being vulnerable actually is a weakness. I think it's a strength. It's just you have to recognize that you can't be vulnerable with everybody.
That's the thing, finding that person that you trust.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
last week we had I was talking to Paul, and we were talking about, you find that person that you trust, and that Derek too. You find that person that you trust, but something happens,
Mm.
and you guys fall out, and
Mm.
then all of the things that you trusted with that person is now at the local bar,
Mm.
because that person is angry. So, when when our men experience that, then that doesn't help them to trust again.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think personally myself, I'm probably slow to trust, but I've developed some relationships over the years um that are solid, really
Hmm.
are. I got some 20 plus year old relationships with folks that are just really solid. Like, and there's been no um disloyalty. There's been, I got a lot of friends, not a lot. Let me
Hmm.
take that back, but I got quite a few that's got 20 plus years. And even, there have been some friendship relationships that have, had a little bit of like betrayal, disloyalty, but um, believe it or not, sometimes you can still work through some of those things. And I've been able
Hmm.
to do that before too. So, you know, I look for people who are have integrity, who are honest, who are willing to be vulnerable, who are willing to tell the truth. I look for people who take care of anything that they're connected to, like take care of their responsibilities.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
like it's like these kind of key indicators. If they're a serious person, then I know I can share things with them. I can leave things with them, like some of my burdens with them, and they can leave them with me, and we walk the journey together. So yeah, people do sometimes experience betrayal, like you said before, or kind of disloyalty, and but it happens sometimes. But I've seen situations where it can still be worked through on the other side, and you can still have a strong relationship. I mean, I could just think of a friend of mine offhand where that happened, and we still close because our bond was deeper than what happened. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so yeah.
Is it? Yeah. I witnessed it firsthand,
Mhm.
the fallout. And from the fallout, I was the one that received all the information, which
Mm.
makes it difficult to this day for me to look at the individual,
Mm-hmm.
because all of his personal secrets was told to me. So I'm
Mm.
going, man.
Mhm.
So, and I'm not petty. I
Mhm.
don't want to go up and go, oh, such and such told me but I'm, one, you want to say, hey, I'm sitting on a lot of information.
I guess for me, part of it is like at the end of the day, um, it's important to um, be okay if you end up having to be honest. Meaning, like, if somebody feel like they got something on your head, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like sometimes the truth will make you free, and so you know
I
sometimes
was hoping
if
to be that person where it stopped. You know how that person was so angry
yeah
and they
yeah
told and I just wanted to be where it stopped. Not
yeah
that
yeah
one
yeah
where
yeah
yeah.
that says something about your own integrity when people bring you things and it stops with you, and
Hmm.
some people, what they say, can't hold water, right?
Yeah, like a
you know
strainer. But it's
right.
just like, the stuff that was said, I'm like, it could damage a
Hmm.
person to let all that, your personal business out like that. And that
Yeah,
person was trusting, so that's why I said I think sometimes for our men, it's kind of hard.
yeah, I could see that, and I think that, like, you know we got to be, like I said before, we got to be okay with our truth, and and there's sometimes a moment of truth,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the moment of truth might, require you to face the reality of your reality, and um, people have gone through worse. You got to think about
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
your situation versus what other people have been through, and it can be, hurt. It can hurt. It can't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not one to like let somebody hold something over my head or like feel like um, I'll just tell the truth. you know,
Yeah, that's what I
that's
said.
that's
If I ever, and this is where my stand is on it. If I ever see that person look like they're going to hurt this individual, then
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to come. I'm gonna have a sidebar, and have we're gonna have to sit down and say, look, I don't think this person is healthy for you.
Yeah. Well, that's. I think that's honorable for somebody to kind of. You got to earn the right to say that, but if you've earned the
Hmm.
right to say that to somebody, I'm sure they will receive it.
That's why I say it. As long as the friendship is mended and they gone on about their business, fine. But if it returns to that sour spot, then I'm just gonna have to say, come here for a second.
Hmm.
But again, I want the people to trust, like you said, trust you. You know, you can't trust me, then I'm no good to you. As far as being a friend. So
I think people should also go to therapy, right? I think that a lot of people give people information that should only be given to a therapist. We give a lot of information to people
mhm,
that like that should go to a professional. And
right.
I think sometimes we perpetuate our own mental illness without getting professional help. And thinking that I think you do need friends, you need resources, you need people to confide in, you need a social uh, um, you need social aspects to your life, you need
Hmm.
outlets things, but sometimes you also need a therapist, and you need
Yeah.
somebody with a professional degree to sit down and with professional training, I'll say that, to help you to work through some of the issues, because sometimes our friends can commit malpractice in some of the
Mm.
advice, and
I
what
like that. That's a good one. Malpractice.
no, I mean, like
Hmm.
if you're you know I mean, it's not even malpractice because they're not professionals, but the
Right.
fact that they're like offering advice, and then they have this thing in the counseling field called transference. A lot of people think from their own life, and they impose their own, they project their own experiences onto you. And if that was me, I would have, man, you, first of all, you not me. You don't know the exact circumstances. You don't know how I think, how I operate, and you shouldn't transfer that into the decision making. And I would be a fool to take in everything that everybody said, especially
Hmm.
without um, being okay with having some professional assistance. I think that people, that's a key thing. We talking about men and mental health. I think
Hmm.
that's the key thing. We have a tendency to leave our things where they have no business being left anyway.
On that same subject, because this is one of the questions we always talk about. If you were to go to therapy,
Hmm.
would you want someone that looks like you or someone that can handle the job? Your comfort level, would you want to go in and see um, a black male therapist, or would you want a therapist?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's not a if, it's I did, and I've experienced both.
Hmm.
And I think that, first of all, the fact that they are professionally trained. You might hear a little noise in the background,
Oh, you're fine.
but they are professionally trained. They're licensed. That's number one, right? Because I can make sure that I'm trusting them with my health information,
Hmm.
um, and they have somebody to be accountable to. But I've talked to therapists that were both black or white. I think you do there are nuances with being a black person in America that people just do not understand. And it does, and that's general, not just for mental health, but
Mm-hmm.
for all health, right? Like where it is proven that you can get better outcomes often when you're with someone that you trust, potentially looks like you, has some similar experiences in society. So no doubt, that's not even a question. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but I have experienced both, and um, I've learned from both about myself, um, and experienced growth from both. But no doubt, an indicator of, health certainly is when you can get somebody that can identify with you culturally. It's not even a question.
That is like that's going into what is supposed to take place next year. You know how
Mhm,
you want to talk about it, but you
mhm,
don't want to talk about it and it don't happen. So I'm gonna talk about it and it better happen. That's what we're gonna
mhm,
do. So I am working with two people who've already started a nonprofit organization
mhm,
to start a nonprofit for the men who want help
mhm,
but can't afford it.
mm,
So the vision is that you want to go to therapy,
mhm,
but you don't have the money. What do
mhm,
you do? So instead of the person struggling, maybe we can have like a voucher, or they tell us who the person is and we send that person maybe 2 visits, or something, so that they can get their feet wet and understand what's you know therapy is about. Because if
mhm.
they want help, that shouldn't be the reason why they don't get it.
Yeah, it's tough, because I'm one who has learned that therapy can be expensive. It can
Mm-hmm.
be expensive, and people's medical insurances don't always cover it, and it can be difficult. But I say this sometimes too to people who avoid it, that say it's too expensive, because it's expensive for many people, and,
Mm-hmm.
and they aren't able to access it like this. But there are some people out there who don't want to prioritize their mental health or their health in general, and they don't prioritize it, and then it's difficult for you to continue to take care of yourself financially and otherwise when your mind and your body is not healthy. So for some folks who are on the fence and worried about that additional expense, but it may be a little bit of a stretch,
Mm-hmm.
I say do it, because if your mind is healthier, your body is healthier, then you're gonna move through society better. You're gonna be a better earner. You're gonna be able to work better.
Just function.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna have more function, and that can translate into more flow. And that's all that I think money is flow. It's currency. That's what we call it.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you the flow. You want your flow. And if you want your flow, you got to have your mind right. And
Oh
so
yeah.
but there are those situations, and I commend you all for doing that, for helping folks that don't have it, right, and to find
Mm-hmm.
a way to create some programs where they can get some um, some professional support as they're going through things. So that's great, and we need to do more of that for people who actually don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
But some folks out there, it might be a little bit of stretch, and they might have a little bit to make it happen, and they need to make that stretch because it's going to increase your capacity. So the thing is, what happens is when we have these mental health breakdowns, or these kind of life breakdowns, it's a breakdown of your capacity. It's a breakdown of your flow. And so if you want your flow to continue to stay flowing, then you have to, sometimes make those sacrifices to keep the flow going. So you won't have any blocks in your life. That's just my perspective on
I'm, I, I'm receiving it.
it.
I'm receiving it. It's just that it's, growing up, there's things that, I probably could have done different and didn't know anything about it. So, just to get this information out, or, people that could do like workshops or something. Maybe they, back to my seminars. Maybe they can't get to a therapist, but maybe seminars or like little blood donation booths where they can go in and talk for 15, 20 minutes just to see what someone would say. Just the wheels stay rolling constantly on how we can get more of the men and women. But my focus is on men because women will go, men will not. Just to show them that it's okay. Just go talk to somebody. That's a struggle.
Well, I think, for a lot of folks, so I used to do therapeutic day treatment, and I used to I know my certification is probably expired now, but I was a qualified mental health professional. And so um one of the entry points are groups. A lot of people's entry point to individual therapy or individual counseling are groups. Groups can be less intimidating for folks. And then, in groups, they can make referrals. Like people who lead groups, therapeutic groups, can make referrals to individuals. And sometimes you build that, that strength, that vulnerability with the group. And then you're ready to make that individual dive to kind of work on yourself. So I've seen that as a strategy for people who may be a little bit apprehensive about, their own mental health support. So I think there needs to be more groups, and they can be support groups, but it's often great if in those groups you have someone who has some clinical training to facilitate those groups so that they can help people navigate making the right decision for mental health, post the group. But the groups are excellent way to start. Circles, people just kind of talking and working through their issues together as a pathway to working through those more kind of acute personal issues.
So, see, you must be up here reading my mind. My next thing, well, I wanted to do it this year, but this is, taking on a set of legs and it's rolling. I wanted to do Brothers Who Brunch. And when I say brunch, then it limits me to a certain time but I don't think so. But I just want the guys to come together with, kind of like when they do with football, but just come together, sit down, sit outside, talk, like you said, in groups, just to check on each other or just to talk. So I was like, okay, so that's on my list of things to do on Get the Brothers Who Brunch going. It was like, I need an assistant. The brain don't shut down, but I would like that for the guys. So I said I might try to do one on a Zoom or like here, and then I just disappear and just let them, because it doesn't have to be streamed live. They can just sit and and talk, but just to get it going.
I mean, one of your
place is hard too.
One of your strategies could also be to ask them, if you were to get together, how would you like to see it? What would you want to do? Right. I think sometimes I always talk about what I call the posture of listening. And so like, how do we scale that so we listen to what their pain points are, what their desires are? Because it might be, I don't know, brothers who drink beet juice because all the brothers like drinking beet juice and sitting around drink beet juice and talk about basketball. Brothers, beet juice and basketball, right? But listening to them first, that would be my recommendation. Because I think a lot of times, because if I put the shoe on the other foot, right, and I was like, I'm gonna have an event for the women, and it's gonna be, this or that. But I think it's okay to do that. But why don't I go ask them? You know what I mean? Get an idea of kind of what they might want, even if it's like a short survey or something, and then produce something based on what I heard and the feedback that I got from them. And then you're probably more likely to have some traction on that.
It's most of the things that I got going on, which I'm trying to find a way to bring it home, but they're out of state. I'm like, like Yonder and Stain and them, who have taken this part of it in Daytona for me, and then I got it in Philly. It's there.
I see you booming out of state. I'll be looking at your analytics. I'll be like, I'll be like, wow, doing it out of state. I think we did. You came on my podcast before, and that was one of our highest performing podcasts because you have a following around the country. So I was like, so when you asked me to come on today, I was like, yeah, I'm fitting to come on there, because I know that you already have a following around the country. So
it's kind of, and it's weird, because you would not expect, but you would think it would be home, because you were here, but
not necessarily.
It's everywhere. So I mean, the guys out there, they got the girls back, and I mean they're just everywhere. Yonder just called me earlier today, because we're working on something that we're going to do in Daytona in January, and I'm like, so yeah,
you're making it happen. I see you.
But I would like to have it happen here.
Yeah, that's not always how it works though. Sometimes usually
you got to go away for it to come back.
Biblical on you. The Bible says the prophet is without honor in their own home, in their own hometown. So you expected something that is not necessarily supposed to happen anyway. You know what I mean? So, and then sometimes you make it away.
Yeah, because I'm supposed to be retired in Jamaica 2 years ago. That's where I was supposed to be.
Good for you, because
But I'm still on the mission. I don't know how I got here, but here I am. So
well, I can't even think about that quite yet. But one day I'm gonna lay my burdens down too and go somewhere and relax.
Peace out. Because I told somebody earlier this week that before COVID hit, I was researching going to Jamaica for 30 days. You can be at that time, I could go to Jamaica for 30 days for $2,800 for the month. You can, if you start adding stuff on, it would go up. But the condo was in the resort that I usually go visit. They rent it out like the Airbnb. At an additional $300, they give you a card, and you can go downstairs in the lobby and eat all your meals.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's great. You got the food, you got the location, you got the water, you got the
all inclusive. Yeah.
I might not come back.
That was the plan. Until I saw that gas, and that was 5 years ago. Gas was $6 a gallon. And milk was $8.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So I was like, well, I guess I'll be lactose intolerant then. Just
you gotta get you some friends with some eggs, and
I'm good. I can't tell you last time I ate an egg because of the prices, but it'll work out. It will work out. I keep thinking that I know what I'm gonna ask you next, but you pretty much covered what I wanted to talk about. So what do you want to talk about?
I mean, I'm better with questions, so I'm better with questions. But
the question, okay, here's a question that we always ask, and see if your answer is different. If you were trying to tackle your mental health. Let's say you're new to it and you want to come home and you want to talk to your mate.
Mm-hmm.
And your mate responds, you come home and is like, hey, I had this kind of day and this happened. And your mate goes,
Mm.
what's
Well,
your reaction?
I think that that's probably what I said before. It's like we want to um it's good to have somebody that you can kind of help you carry some things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I also think it's healthy not to bring something to someone all the time. And like I said before, to have a professional that you can carry things to so that your relationship with the person that you're with can be lighter. So I think what people sometimes expect is that the 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 true source of kind of happiness is I can come and dump all my problems on somebody that I'm trying to be in relationship with. And what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying is the opposite of that. Nah, sometimes you need to do the digging and excavation somewhere else so that you don't always come to bring burdens to you bring come lighter individually,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, both people who are in relationship come lighter individually, because when you're always coming heavy, that's what creates I think the toxicity. That's what creates the heaviness, the burden, and then you feel the weight of each other, and then there's kind of no way up. It's like gravity. And so my advice, take it or leave it, unsolicited advice, is to like figure out a way to come to those spaces lighter. I mean, I tell people sometimes, look, you be having a lot of problems in your day and you bring that stuff home, you might need to cut somebody out during the day so that when you come home, you don't you're performing all day, and there's some type of performance that we have to do, especially if you're working, you're out in the world, you got to like kind
Mm-hmm.
of smile and keep moving. But sometimes you have to find um some release or healthier interactions with folks to help them know to respect your humanity and create boundaries during the daytime, so that when you come home, you don't unload all of that on your partner. So like, I think a little differently about this, that you're going to come and I'll be getting tired of hearing you complain about your problems all the time too. I would like have a night, good exhale, again. What are you doing to take care of yourself? What are you doing to lighten your load? Do you have a spiritual life? Do you have a devotional life? Do you have a faith community? Do you have a therapist? Do you have a workout regimen? Are you taking care of your body? Are you eating the right? Are you eating the right foods? Drinking water? Are you getting sun? Are you taking your vitamins? You know what I
I
mean?
love
Like,
it. I love it. This
are
is
you
a
doing those
complete
things?
opposite of the response that we've
Yeah,
been getting.
because people,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
appreciate that. That's a
Mhm.
different outlook on it because I was I'm receiving that because I thought not thought, but I'm like if I come home and I want to talk to you and you blow hot air at me, I will tend to not say anything, you
Yeah, and
know.
then what happens is the relationship gets heavier
Mhm.
and heavier and heavier. And I'm not telling you something I think. I'm telling you something I know. I'm telling you something I know from experience is that you have to be a healthy person, and you have to have healthy practices to have healthy relationships. And the better thing to do is to have two people who have healthy practices,
Mhm.
such that when they come together, they can that synergy. And that's not to say things are going to be perfect. It ain't never going to be perfect. There's always going to be, you grow through the tension also, but you come to the space lighter. But if you come to the space heavy all the time, I can guarantee you It's going downhill. I mean, it is what it is. You don't have to like
Mhm.
it, but in my experience, it is the truth that if you come to the space heavy all the time and you haven't taken care of yourself, and then what you'll find is this is what happens too. You have somebody who's doing that has healthy practices, has set up boundaries in their day, is taking care of themselves healthy, is drinking their water and minding their business, all of these things. But then you have another person in the relationship who is not taking up those healthy
Mhm.
practices, and it's a clash, right? So you got to you got to leave space for people to take up those healthy practices. But when too healthy, I think people are mentally, physically, spiritually, when they come together,
Mhm.
hey, that's an ideal
I
reality
like
that
that.
could create some um miraculous things.
So I like that. I received that. So when we were talking about mental health and how it started for our men,
Mm-hmm.
that always say this: Dad was raised not to cry. You
Mm-hmm.
know, shoulder everything. So if we were trying to reach our kids in these organized, controlled friendship groups, as I like to
Mm-hmm.
call them, um, I, we've been talking about that too. How would you reach them to let them know that they're actually, cool individuals? They don't have to be, you know, or is that where, I'm thinking about my kids that I usually work with, that, there's something at home that needs to be addressed in order to, to get them to know that they're cool. They don't need to be in organized, controlled friendship groups to be them individual selves. Because watching what um, the Seville family is doing, I see a lot of kids getting involved in stuff that's, like poetry and singing and, different groups that, basketball, the tonsilleur stuff, the painting. And I see more younger kids doing it, but we still have that
Mm-hmm.
saturated section.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna quote two people. I'll do one quote. One quote comes from Suge Avery from The Color Purple.
Mm-hmm,
Suge Avery went into a field of purple flowers with Celie. And one of the things that Suge Avery said to Celie, she said that, look, she said, everything wanna be loved. Right. And
mm-hmm,
so when I see these young people being attracted to some things that may not be healthy for them or for the community broadly, I recognize the fact that everything and everybody, whether they say they do or not, wants to be loved. Suge Avery said it best. And then I also think about a quote from Tupac Shakur, who once said, I hung around with the thugs, but even though they sold drugs, they showed a young brother love. I say that quote all the time because so the common denominator and the factor is love. And how do you operationalize that? And often what you find is that kids or people who don't feel loved, they don't feel like their community or their family or individuals have wrapped their arms around them in a way that will lead them to a more healthy life, they will find love somewhere. And they will find love sometimes in spaces that or may not have their own long-term interests in mind, maybe short
mm-hmm,
term, right? But I always say that um, if you offer young people a clean glass of water versus a cloudy or dirty glass of water, most of the time, if you make it accessible to them, easy for them to assess, they will choose the clean glass of water. So operationally, what we have to do in community is to make it so easy for them to access the clean glass of water. And I think that's some of the things that you're talking about, like
Mm-hmm.
with
Yeah.
Top League and some of the artistic expressions that are happening in the community. There needs to be so much more. So there has to be a level of intentionality and intensity where it needs to be overwhelmingly healthy opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's difficult for them to make that choice.
And
To
it goes
choose
back
out
to
there.
that trust issue.
Mhm.
Because if they don't trust us, and they think that we just out there for the gram or for the news or whatever, and not really out there for them, they not gonna, they're not gonna want to participate. Like you
Well,
said, they want to be loved, so they don't.
trust is earned.
Mm-hmm.
Trust is earned through time. Trust is earned through compassion. Trust is earned when you don't abandon me when I am at my worst. When I'm not presenting at my best, are you still consistent? Because they're looking for consistency. Can you be consistent even when I am not at my best? And that
Mm-hmm.
builds trust. And can you do this over a period of time? Can you make deposits in my life before you decide you need to take a withdrawal? Because if you continue to make withdrawals and tell me what I am not, then eventually you're gonna have an overdraft, and our relationship is gonna suffer because you have not made enough deposits. So we have to make far more deposits in the life of these young people, so that when we do need to make a withdrawal, to say that that's not right, and you need to transition and turn a different corner for that one. They can receive it because they be like, that person has my best interest in mind. And I know it because they've been consistent. They've been loving. They've been caring. They've supported me even when I wasn't operating at my best. They were consistent.
Mm-hmm. And it's not some of my students that I had last year. One of them that graduated, he said that he wasn't really concerned about graduating, but like you said, I kept showing up for him because
Mm-hmm.
he was part, and probably still is, part of the organized controlled friendship.
Mm-hmm.
But I told him, I said, I know you can do this. I know you can graduate. I know you can do this. And he kept saying he couldn't. He had time for it. He walked across that stage. I made sure
Mm-hmm.
that I went down in that tunnel, and he had his African American stole that he could
Mm-hmm.
wear that had 20, and he head held up like this. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you can do this. So I get what you're saying, showing up, being consistent. Um, but his comment to me made me think about Ms. Diaz, because I worked with her at the African American Teaching Fellows.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he said there's not enough people that look like him in the school that he felt like he could trust.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
sat back and I thought about it. So that, if you're saying that to me, then I mean, I know we can't address it, but if they're looking for somebody to talk to that look like them,
Mm-hmm.
and there's nobody there, I mean, Mr. Smith and Mr. Cochran probably getting overwhelmed because that's what we got.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's kind of hard.
Yeah, I don't know these folks, and I'm sure they're doing amazing work with the resources that they have. So I'll
Yeah,
just leave
that's
it
how.
at that.
But they're the only male. There's three of them, I think, African American teachers there that
Mhm.
the guys can go talk to. So that's what he was talking about. There's not,
Yeah,
because they got to teach class. They got to teach their classes, and
yeah, and I think that's part of what I talked about before, the posture of listening. So when we listen and we hear from these young people, then we have to design. We were talking about the dad's brunch. So we hear from these young people. They tell us exactly what their pain points are.
mm-hmm,
And then we need to design programming based on their um, poor user experience. So, like, how do we make things in a way that we know will deliver the outcomes based on what we learn from the actual users? I mean, they're giving feedback and information that is useful to program design. And so I think that's valuable information that that young man gave, and people should certainly take heed to it.
I think when I go back to school, which I really hadn't left, but when school actually takes place, we have this thing called the CAP project, a community action project that they seniors have to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I would like to do is bring that into a suggestion for the kids, for one of them to see how he can reach out to the community to see how they can bridge that gap, who could come in, or almost like a brother and sister, the 100 black men, what can he do to bridge that gap to make a change in the school system? What can they do? They
Mm-hmm.
have clubs 2 times a month. Could the person come in, could they have, like you said, a group session
Mm-hmm.
where they all
Mm-hmm.
just sit down twice a month, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Hey, I'm big on groups. I think, like I said before, I think those are the entry points to individual interventions. And I think individual interventions, think some people think it's always a bad thing to get mental health support or whatever. But I think mental health support can also be an accelerator, because I
Mhm,
think I'm always talking about flow. And, when we don't, where we aren't healthy, we have these blocks. And what mental health therapy, counseling can do is to help us to get through those blocks where we have more flow, and it can be an accelerator of our potential. And I think, like, for me, I think that's been the case. Being an accelerator, I have accelerated in certain places because I've been able to be
mhm.
honest. I've been able to be honest with my trauma and the things that I've been through. I've been able to like talk to a professional and work through things internally, but also with a professional. And then I don't have to carry that weight in life. It eliminates some of the blocks. And I don't get me wrong, I have a lot to continue to work on, but you have to be intentional about the work, intentional about working on it if you really want to grow. I think some people have like this fake growth,
Mhm.
but they really haven't dealt with some of the deeper issues. And I'm saying to people, sometimes it's painful, and then we all have our work to do, but we come out with the other end lighter and better, and we're able to flow. When people are like, "Oh, man, you seem like I don't have it all together, but I am willing to deal with myself without the need to kind of blame others for everything, and be honest with the things that I'm struggling with." It,
Right.
it has made me a better person.
That, yeah, it's kind of like that. What is it? That smile where you see somebody smiling and then they just move the face and it's like this is what's really behind it. But like you
Mhm.
say, I'm I'm just like I said, I just received so much from you today about being coming lighter,
Mhm.
not being afraid to ask for help because it's hard. It's
Mhm.
hard. I'm on that trusting side because I don't trust very many people, if any, at all.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
it's your conversations is just like social media.
Mhm.
Once you put it out there, you can't get it back.
Mhm.
So I talk to people with the expectations right now, because like I said, I trust few. That what I tell them, I'm okay with other people finding out.
Yeah,
So
I'm the same way.
I gotta learn. I gotta get past that sometimes, but that's where I'm at. If I'm gonna talk to you, if I tell you something and it goes out wherever, then I'm gonna be okay with it.
Same. And then for me also is that, like, I may give some people a little bit to work with and see what they do with it. Cause then I'm gonna take a mental note. If
Mm-hmm.
I give you a little something and you can't handle what I gave, and I hear it somewhere else, I'll be like, okay, I got it. I understand, you know, um, you know, frivolous information that people think is deep and um harmful, you know what I mean? Like, okay, um, just to kind of see if they can handle that. And and then just take a mental note, and you're able to kind of see what some people are able to handle, what some people
Right.
aren't able to handle. And that's fine. Like, I mean, whatever. It's just like with me, it's the level you on. Yeah. And if you want to go deeper, then you got to be able to handle the information better, the relationship better on a deeper level. But you can't go to the next level if you can't handle light work.
I will have you back on again because I was receiving so much great information and knowledge that I didn't get to touch on Vinegar Hill
Oh,
and all the wonderful things that you do. So we gotta work on that one on the next one.
okay.
But this will be on the YouTube channel
Okay.
where you can receive it or grab it or whatever you need to do. This is designed for our men only,
Okay.
where they can come, talk, do what they need to. I offer this platform to you, but you have your platform. But if you ever need to come on here and use it for anything, it's open to the men.
Okay. All
Because
right.
I'll just set it up and I just go, like I told one guy, I said, I'll just go over to the corner and so I say this every show. I'm the only female that you'll ever see on this. Because this is for the men. This is
Got
for the
it.
men to talk about what's going on with them, what they want to see, how they feel. No judgments.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we see any judgments, they will no longer get to have any conversations over in the little chat boxes. They just go away. Because this is for you guys.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
Don't
it's been a
worry.
pleasure. I hope I made sense. I'm.
Oh, dude, I'm sitting here going, I forgot to pick up because normally I have my pen and I'm writing down little nuggets. My little notebook's full of all kinds of little nuggets from the shows. Because I thought about it. I said, if I put these little gems together, like I said, my wheels never stop rolling. If I put the gems together, can you imagine what we come up with to hand somebody?
Mm-hmm.
So your perspective on the mate part, that's all up here. Where you, instead of being upset with the mate that they're not receiving what you're saying, you go to the mate lighter because you took care of yourself versus going in saying, I expect you to.
Yeah.
So that was yours was the first time I've heard that take on it. So yeah, you rocked it.
Oh, great.
And the concept of how to help the ones in the organized controlled friendship groups.
Yeah, I mean, I've given my life to that because I lived through some times where it could have went either way for me. So I know what worked for me. And I think that those who have similar experiences to me, I know some things that can work. And part of it is two words that I've said a lot tonight is just listening to them and also loving them. Those are the two things that they're really looking for. And that's half the battle. Is listening to them honestly and then loving them. That is the formula.
I got it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send the link to Charles and see if he wants to jump on anytime because I'm proud but yet nervous that I have a waiting list.
Oh, good. Oh, I made it. I'm on. Oh, great day. I'm on.
I mean, it's full. During this, it was only supposed to be one night a week, as my opening says, Wednesday night. So I know not to do anything on Wednesday. Well, then there was a waiting list. Said, okay, so I opened it up to Monday and Wednesday through the summer because I'm not in school. There's a waiting list.
Wow, that's great. That's awesome.
So we'll see. I gotta look at my schedule once school starts and football games and all that stuff going on. So
okay.
But I'm definitely keeping it Wednesday. But I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
Well, having a waiting list is always good in my book.
I'm gonna accommodate everybody. And they've also asked for, where is it? I don't have a new one, but they also asked for number 3. So
Awesome.
That's coming.
Awesome.
I gotta get that up and going. I'm like, so what do we? This is not gonna be annually, because I said I was gonna stop at the last one, but here they come again.
Mm-hmm.
So because there are men who wanted to participate in the books
mm-hmm.
and didn't. Now they're seeing what their books are doing. They're like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm not making a dime off of it. I'm just, putting it out there. I got a message from one young man who said that he was going to unalive himself. And he saw somebody talking about this book. He ordered it off of Amazon, read it, and seeked help.
Wow, that's amazing.
So I'm like, who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew that 29 men sharing their stories, that it's okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, who knew? So all my other books and stuff, because I got questions like, they said, where the other one after this? Because they finished this one and they waiting because it's supposed to keep going through 6 books.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't got time. Ain't got time.
Well, I thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. And, anything I can do to support, just let me know. I
will, like I said in the bio, I will put all your contact information, because I'm going to go back and put everybody's on there. The Vinegar Hill, which I can't wait for you guys to hear about, because he does amazing work. I love him to death. And I have my burgundy Vinegar Hill sweatshirt on, and everybody's like, where you get that from? I said, I ain't telling. Nice. So yeah, I've been a walking advertisement board. I appreciate it. No worries. But I appreciate you. And of course you'll get the email like everybody else with the link in it. And if you want to jump back in, we will always have you. Quentin, every time. Quentin's like, I'm coming on. I got so much stuff. He got his notes and everything. And I'm like, come on, man. You come on. Awesome. So you are more than welcome, my friend, and I appreciate you. All right. Thank you. You're welcome. Have a good one, dear. All right, you too. Thanks.